Thank you so much for coming. I'm Audrey Schaefer. I'm the lucky kid that's the communications director for IMP. And you know that we are here to open this incredible structure, the Atlantis, which is, okay, you can clap. It's, it is an homage to the original 930 Club, which opened in 1980, 44 years. This is the start of the 44th year today, and a perfect time for this. And it's a 450 cap place, and it joins the IMP family, which is the 930 Club, which is right here at the corner, the Anthem at the Wharf, the Lincoln Theater, and we also operate Merriweather Post Pavilion. And I am going to hand it over to Seth Hurwitz, who's the chairman of IMP and the person who thought all of this up, and let him take it from here.
Okay, well, a long time ago, it just keeps getting longer and longer. Back in '79, I heard about this place downtown, this club that had all these bands I'd never heard of, and I was pretty hip on music. I was a DJ and all that, but I had never heard of these bands, and I don't know, I was going to go check it out. This guy was playing David Johansen. He was in the New York Dolls, and well, let's go see that. So I go down there. Wow, what a weird place! What weird people! They're all, it's just nuts. Yeah, so it was a wild scene. We didn't have that in D.C. This was on F Street. Now, F Street back then was a little sketchy. It was still the remnants around the corner of one of our famous porn streets. We had 14th and we had 9th. So there were peep shows and whatnot. But that made it an adventure. And it was really, going down there was on the edge. I mean, you felt like you're taking a chance here. This is an edge, and you go in, you see these people. Anyway, that place was called the Atlantis, and as all small clubs did in those days, I think there's not many left. The owner started not paying bands, whatever, went out of business. The owner of the building, his name was John Bowers, and it was the Atlantic Building, and he said to his wife at the time, Dodie Bowers, "Here, you do something with this place." And a lot of people don't realize this, but I did not start the 930 Club. There was a person named Dodie Bowers, now Dodie DeSanto, who took this place and welcomed people of all walks of life. I mean, this was way before there were gender discussions, whatever. I mean, people, all kinds of people that you've never seen, that had looks you've never seen. It was truly alternative. And in those days, alternative meant alternative. You know, alternative today is, big bands like Foo Fighters. I don't know. And but back then, alternative was like stuff you didn't know. So the people that went to the 930 Club, they wanted to go down and see new stuff and be part of the scene. It literally was see and be seen, because you either had, the first piercings in the city, or you were looking at them. In my case, although I've been a rock punk promoter for 45 years now, I don't have a piercing or a tattoo. But, so I'm on the outside just looking at these people. And it was just great. And the vibe was great. And Dodie just fostered this scene, this welcoming scene. Like, come down and be part of this thing that's happening in D.C. It was a real thing. But like I said about club owners, owning a small club is a losing business. As a promoter, we needed to have a small club to do bands when they first started out, so we made a deal with Dodie, and the rest is history and all that. In '86, she got tired of it and sold it to us, and we took it from there, moved it here in '96. But I want to introduce people to someone who doesn't get introduced too often, because she's busy doing her own artistic sort of things, because that's who she is. But I'd really like you to welcome and thank Dodie DeSanto.
Hi. Oh my God. Wow. This is really incredibly overwhelming, I have to say. It's an enormous, and I did write something, so It's an enormous privilege to have planted the seeds. Uh-oh. Whoa, he's a juggler like me. That nourished this destiny. It's a bit like the magic beans in the fable Jack and the Beanstalk. And the moral of that story is to take advantage of the opportunities that life provides you. A showcase rock club was not on my radar. At age 26, the opportunity simply fell into my lap. Happenstance, innocence, and a lot of magic. A sociocultural movement was already in motion. I crafted a vessel to hold and house that energy, and the club quickly became part of a network of venues that made way for this natural groundswell to erupt. Remember, this was back in the 1900s, when the rising and setting of the sun was the governing tempo, and DC was still lingering in the consequences of the 1968 riots. The times were ripe. The ground was fertile. I can still hear the ad on WHFS radio. 9:30, a place in time, a time in space. It made quite an impact to drop that place in our nation's capital, on F Street, across the alley from Ford's Theater, where burgeoning bands could develop independently off the grid of corporate record company ownership. That was the thrust of what we were doing. An underground network sprang to life. People ventured out, attracted like moths to this bright, new, sparkly light. They showed up out of nowhere. The cops on the beat once asked me, "Where did these people come from? Did they crawl out from under rocks?" I know for so many people, especially the young coming to punk shows, it was an actual rite of passage to walk down that long 106-foot hallway, stretching like an umbilical cord attaching to that room, feeding in a culture hungry for growth and connection. It was a space where mysteries, joy, and the angst of being human were worked out in the primacy and sweat of direct contact. The music is the flint and the momentum for such a ritual. But really, it's the fans who are ultimately responsible for this abiding success. If I were on the creative team today, I would suggest the Atlantis being a no-phone zone. A chance for people to shed the vicissitudes of technology for a real visit to the past. Install a phone check. It could become a trend. And lastly, I would like to make some acknowledgments to my ex-husband, the late John Bowers, whose benevolence and passion for music was the driving force. Mark Holmes, whose creative energy and graphic imprint infused all of us. Bill Worrell of DC Space for his guidance. Seth and company for taking it beyond all expectations. And to my husband Charles for his enduring strength and love. Thank you. Thank you for this acknowledgement today. And thank you to the entire cast of characters, past, present, and future, for contributing to this phenomena.
Okay. So, back then, when Dodie handed it to us, I was so worried that we wouldn't maintain that vibe, that scene. But we did, and I think her spirit is still involved in the club. But the other thing we wanted to maintain was that feeling that when you go down here you're taking a chance. You're seeing bands you haven't seen that could be the next big thing. I'll get into that in a minute, but I want to introduce someone who has been supportive every step of the way for everything we've ever done in this city. I've said to her, I'm going to give you my greatest compliment. You're like normal. And she is. Please welcome Her Honor, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I am very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here with Seth. I want to thank you so much, Dodie, for your vision. And we're here with a real live rock star. So let's hear for Dave Grohl. Thank you for being here, for always being supportive of Washington, D.C. We know that this is a huge day for music lovers, a big day for everyone who loves the 930 Club, and everyone who loves what I like. You call it weird or alternative. I call it the real Washington, D.C. And that is a city that's filled with culture and grit and people who love music. And so we know how devastating 3 years without live music was in the way that we were used to seeing it. And we know for sure that we worked very hard together to bring the music back to Washington, D.C. with great promoters and owners of music venues and all different ways to support artists so that we could stick together and be on the other side. So we want to thank the entire team at the 930 Club for sticking with us, for being there to support music and hospitality throughout those times. And so there aren't a lot of experiences like going to the 930 Club or experiencing live music. But we know that being surrounded by hundreds or thousands of strangers who are enjoying the same music in the same moment is a part of who we are as human beings. And so I am so grateful that we have that back. I'm so grateful for fans like the Foo Fighters who come to Washington, D.C. To make sure that we are having that live music experience. And I'm very happy today to proclaim today as the 930 Club Day in Washington, D.C. So I will say a couple of the whereases. I already gave away the ending, but you heard it from Seth. The 930 Club was both a time and a place in time, and a place where world-renowned bands like Nirvana, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Green Day, Nine Inch Nails, REM all got their start. And more than 11,000 acts and bands have headlined here at the 930 Club. In 1996, the 930 Club moved from its humble beginnings with 198-person capacity on F Street to the 1,200-person capacity here on V Street, where it stands today. The 930 Club opened on V Street in 1996 with the Smashing Pumpkins, bringing their arena-sized show to inaugurate it. And since then, the 930 Club has hosted music legends, ranging from Chuck Berry to Radiohead, Dolly Parton as well. In 2016, it was a remarkable year for the 930 Club as they celebrated 35 years and the publication of a now out-of-print coffee table book documenting their rich history. And finally, after 18 months of an eerie silence resulting from the pandemic, the Foo Fighters woke the club from its pandemic slumber on September 9, 2021, providing a packed house and a jubilant music experience. So once again, today is the 930 Club Day in Washington, D.C.
Do I get to keep this? Or? Okay, good. So, yeah, we were down in the pandemic bad time for everyone. Didn't have much to do, so we thought of this place. True story. But back when we opened the Anthem, Dave, of course, opened the place. Now, he said on stage when he was that night, he said, every time we play D.C., there's this one guy who says, can I play drums? But from the other side, every time we open a venue, there's this one guy that says, can I open it, please? Sort of. It doesn't go down like that. But we had this idea that, well, okay, obviously we'll have some big act open it, but let's do, I don't want it to stop after one night, so I thought, well, we'll be open 44 years. Let's do 44 of them, huh? And I didn't dare call Dave and ask him. It was a rough time in those days for everyone. The fact that he hadn't given me his new phone number probably is a reason I didn't call him either. But no, I'll stick with I didn't want to bother him. Anyway, I got a call from Dave's manager, John Silva, who's here, who's been a great, great supporter of ours. Very, very loyal. Puts all his bands with us. And he called me up and said, when do you open? I said, May 30. He said, all right, hold it for, and he named one of his other giant acts. I thought, well, that's great, but where's Dave? I mean, it was a great idea, but it wasn't truly significant to our history, someone who plays with us, but I'm not going to mention who that is. But we were overseas, and I get a phone call at dinner, and it's from Dave's agency, and they said, you're holding May 30 for John Silva, right? I said, yeah. They said, well, because Dave wants to open the place. Now, I thought this was a prank, but after 5 minutes realized, wow. And I thought, this has got to be the hottest show I've ever done. Hands down, no contest. And I think it is. In fact, I want to thank Dave for a lot of things, but one thing is I've heard from a lot of friends I haven't heard from in like 10 years this past week. So this was nice. Anyway, after he opened the Anthem, we wanted to do something for Dave. And I had just discovered this amazing French artist named Bernard Pross for you DC residents. Anyway, Bernard does this thing where he makes these sculptures with, I guess the polite way is saying found objects. I call it junk. But he makes these sculptures out of stuff. He has a vision nobody else has. And I thought, well, he's done a lot of historical types, especially music types, and I thought, let's get one done of Dave. Dave will like that, right? That was 5 years ago. And we've had a few false starts with that. COVID, personal stuff, whatever. This thing has gotten put off so many times, but it's here today. And we're here to unveil it right now. And I'm supposed to say, are you ready, guys? 3, 2, 1. Now, from here, Dave, it doesn't look like you, but go stand there. Go stand in front. It does, I think. Nothing fell off, did it? Okay. Anyway, because the Atlantis is so small, we don't have room to put it here. So this is on a truck because it's going to get taken back where it will live at the Anthem, and everyone can go see it. There's a lot of Easter eggs in there. Our late sound man, pieces of his motorcycle, and there, as I said, is Dave's necklace he sent to us. And anyway, you know, every city has their rock stars, right? Their famous sons and all that. And, you know, some people aren't as lucky as we are. Detroit, they have Ted Nugent. But we... I'm sorry. Well, you're from D.C., too. Besides Dave being our incredible ambassador for our town and talking about how much the 930 meant to him growing up, being in bands and stuff. By the way, a quick story about that. We used to do shows in Calorama Roller Rink, which is now a Harris Teeter. And we were doing this huge act at the time, Jesus Jones. They had a big song, Right Here, Right Now. And John Silva told me he needed that date at the 9:30. I was like, for what? You know, for Nirvana. I said, well, Jesus Jones, you don't want to play up against Jesus Jones. John said, we're not worried about that. So, anyway, I just want to say that for all the things that Dave has done for us and represents us and been our spirit out in the world, and we're so proud of him, but you may not realize this, but he's also, and I think this is his greatest asset, one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your life. And it's true. What you see is what you get. So, Dave, thank you for opening our new place. And here, you get to talk.
Thank you very much. I could stand here and speak for hours and hours. But I feel like Seth just did. You know, I'm a very proud musician who grew up just over the bridge in Springfield, Virginia. And by the age of maybe 13 or 14 years old, I discovered the underground music scene and started coming here to the 930 Club, I think around maybe 14 years old. It's funny because seeing Dodie today, she said, have we ever met before? And I said, yeah, I think about 40 years ago, as I was begging to be let into the club at the front desk, the original front desk that's at the end of the hallway now. That was the podium. That's where I used to beg to be let into shows when I was a teenager. Thankfully, I was allowed into the club because I got to witness hundreds of bands that inspired me to become a musician myself. And that feeling of being in this sort of tribe, like we were all in on this big secret that was, I guess, then considered alternative culture. But it was all the misfits. It was all the kids from the suburbs and all the kids from town that found a family together in places like the old 930 Club. And hopefully that tradition will continue, where you'll have kids from all over the DC metropolitan area come in and see bands that will inspire them to become musicians as well. Because I think that's how it works. When it's available to you and you realize that music is available to you, you know, I don't think any of us ever considered becoming rock stars or any sort of like career opportunity in what we were doing. We just did it because we had to, because we love to do it, and we love to do it with the people here in town, our close family of friends in the community and the scene. Anyway, it's an honor to be here, and thank you very much, Seth, and for the statue. It's amazing. I'd like to pass some sort of bill or law where they're required in every federal building in town upon entering. That's a lot of sculptures. But I appreciate everyone being here, and hopefully the tradition of the 930 Club and local bands and unknown bands and young musicians will have a place to come witness music and be inspired to make it on their own. So thank you very much.
By the way, this is Bernard Pra, the artist. Let's give him a round of applause. Good photo op after. He has several sculptures out at Merriweather of classic historic artists. In fact, he was in the middle of working on Tina Turner when she passed, so that'll be out there soon. I have to thank some people because although I'm up here and I'm the one, I'm the figurehead. It ain't really me. So I'm just the tip of an iceberg. One of my most important people is standing there, Donna Westmoreland, who is the COO of all the companies. And as anyone knows, she does the real work, not me. Chris Pelly, the architect, who somehow found his way onto the stage the other night in an opening act, which I didn't even know he did. He works for Core Architecture, and they've done just a fantastic job. We love working with them. MCN, of course, the people that built it. Norm Veenstra, our former general manager, who's now I call him a real estate dude. I don't know what else to call him. But he's the one who helped put us all together. John Storick, who did the acoustic work. There's a guy with us. We refer to him as our artistic creative director. I'm sorry. But he's our everything. He is the 930 Club to a lot of people. His name is Guillaume Desnoëttes. Another French dude who helped design most of this, and especially on the rooftop, which you don't know because you haven't been in yet. On the rooftop, there is a replica of F Street in the day, so a little surprise. There's a lot of Easter eggs in the place. You know, some people have called it, in fact, this is not true, some newspapers have called it an exact replica of the 930. That's not true at all. What we wanted to replicate was the basic form of it, the feel of it, and most importantly, the idea that you come here to see bands that are going to be big someday. And someday I hope a lot of people walk around and say, well, I saw them at the Atlantis. So, and then I want to thank someone who really motivated me to get this place open. Fox 5 News did a poll. Will the Atlantis be ready for its first show? 86% said no. Now, anyone that knows me knows that's all I had to see to get this place open on time. So, thank you all for coming. It's a great day. I hope that people that come here get that feeling that they're in on something early, the ground floor. You never know who's going to break out from the pack, like Dave did. And enjoy, experience alternative music when it is truly alternative. Thank you.
And we have one more thing to do before we take the tour. And you know how places, when they open, do ribbon cuttings? Well, that's just not us. But we do have a really long guitar string to cut. So if I could have my IMP people come on up and help, and if I could have you all come up and help. And Seth, if I could have the mayor and AVIP retired. Can you get in front of him?
Thank you, Dave. There you go. Sure, I got that.
Sure. I want to get close to that thing.
Yeah. Still going live, right? Are you ready? Ready to open the Atlantis? Which way?
All right.